Absolutely everything you need to know to build nice bases is right here in this video and the next one in the series. From using the build menu, placing parts, creating rooms, windows, doors, roofs, powering the base, lighting, and much more. Good guys free here. This video is going to be long, but it's designed to be a reference. Here are the main chapters so you can skip easily. Remember that I am showing the PC key bindings here, so you'll need to experiment and see what the controls are for your platform. In order to build anything, you need to enter build mode. This opens the set of building parts available to you at this location. Since we never built anything here, all we see is this category, portable parts. We want to build a base computer. To do this, you need to obtain chromatic metal. This can be bought in some space stations, but usually what we do is use the terrain manipulator to mine copper, which can be refined into chromatic metal in a portable refiner. Now we can build the base computer. Select it and place, then interact with it and claim the base. Hey, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Now when we go to build mode, we see more parts that can be built. We start with a single floor plate. Watch out for the way the terrain is adjusted around the floor. This terrain will eventually regenerate and you will have soil or even plants inside your base. Sometimes we build a base and it's large. Then we teleport into it and see that despite standing next to parts we built, the build menu shows only the portable parts. In this case, drop a save beacon, save and reload. This happens sometimes when teleporting to bases built over large areas. The solution to the terrain and plants sticking into the base is to place a short wall, attach a new floor above it, and then remove the first floor and short wall. If it bothers you that the place will be floating, don't worry, we'll add supporting structure later to make it look realistic. Notice that we choose a place to put the first floor plate that is close to the base computer. You can put the base computer anywhere you like, and you can move it later. When you open the build menu and see the part list, you can select a part and place it. This is called normal build mode, and after selecting the part, you have the following options. This lets you cycle to the next part, but only within the same line. If you choose a roof and have only 2 blueprints, you will cycle just them. For walls, we have 3 blueprints on this line, so we cycle those 3 options. This will place the part where you point at, assuming you have the resources and the location is valid for this part. This will let you change colors for your part. Not all parts allow this, so sometimes this will be marked with a red line like scale here. This will let you rotate your part to suit your needs. Notice that we are currently looking at parts that want to snap into place, so usually they will only rotate in axes that can produce valid attachments. We'll get back to this shortly. This will let you scale a part up or down. Again, some parts will not allow this, like most of the parts that allow snapping into place to attach to others of the same group. But decorations usually scale up to 3 times or down 2.5 times. In part 3 of this series, I'll explain how to scale parts that don't normally do. The next 4 options modify the way things work. First, let's talk about free placement. Notice when I activate free placement, what happens? Suddenly the floor panel no longer insists on snapping into place. Notice that cycle axis is empty. No key is listed. We can go into options, switch to part placing, and see that on PC this is T. If I use the controls to rotate now, the part rotates on the default axis smoothly. Now I will press the key to allow free rotation. Be sure you are in free placement mode or this will not work. Notice what happens. We see the free cycle axes on the 3 cardinal directions. I rotate the wall and I can place the part in generally any direction I choose. If I switch back to snap placement now, parts that usually want to snap to this type of part will snap to it in the direction it is placed. This option lets you stay in one place and move only the point of view from which you build. It's called build camera, and you literally move the camera that you use to view the environment. The build camera is very useful. In some situations, there are many snap points in your line of sight. Using the build camera, you can float above the area and fine-tune where you want to place the part. Another very useful situation is on a planet that has extreme weather. You can build a prefab structure, go inside and start the build camera to build outside, while your player is in a safe place. If you go too far, you will get resistance and see a sphere of lines showing you that you have reached the max range of the build camera. You can extend it by disabling and re-enabling the build camera very quickly. On PC, it means pressing B twice in rapid succession. And of course, this one lets you switch between build mode and edit mode. In build mode, you are selecting a part and deciding where to place it. One thing you can do is to take a part that you placed incorrectly and move it somewhere else. You can select a part to edit and just hit this to change the colors. You don't have to move it. This is really useful because many times when we change the default color, and then build a part that cannot be colored, the color selection resets, and the next time you build something, it will revert to the default colors. Another very useful thing is to use this option that lets you duplicate a part you already placed earlier. It duplicates the part and its color, of course, as well as its size in many cases. Of course, you can delete parts, but be careful with this. There are a few parts that delete other parts attached to them. Use this indication to know what you are going to delete. Notice it takes time for it to appear, so take your time and delete only what you need removed. Freighter building is not much different than building on a planet. You can build rooms, decorate them, and add various things to your base. One major difference is the list of build parts that you can build with, which is different. Some parts were not meant to be built on a freighter base. However, I will link in the description for a video on how to use regular parts on freighters. To get more parts, you use this terminal on your freighter and use salvaged frigate modules. I'll link in the description for a video about getting these. Another difference is that power is always on in a freighter base, so you don't need to add electrical wires, and actually you can't. There is a wiring mode on the menu, but it is for teleport and byte-beat cables. While you are building, you can switch to wiring mode. In this mode, you can connect electrical wires to electrical connectors. You can also go to the build menu and explicitly select the wire you want. There are 4 types of parts that use this mode: electrical, teleport, and byte-beat cables, as well as the supply pipeline. For now, we will focus on the electrical wire. When you look a little away from a connector, you can see it as this floating green circle with the lightning icon inside. When you look closer, it will snap into place. If it does not, try to use the build camera and move around, get a bit further back, and look from other directions. There are some very sophisticated things you can do with a wire like this method to make a part dependent on the location of a wire's starting point, but this is beyond the scope of this video and shall be explained in the advanced series. By the end of this series, I will show you how to do all of these things. A link is in the description, of course. Building can be an expensive thing. If you are not in creative mode, you need to obtain the materials for your building needs. There are several main part categories like timber, stone, and alloy, but also prefabricated parts, decorations, and others. If you wonder why they are not called wood, concrete, and metal, these were the names of the legacy parts which I have shown in part 1 of the series. There are a couple of materials you might need regardless of which category of parts you are using. As you can see, a timber glass roof still needs glass, and a door still needs pure ferrite. Crafting glass in your inventory is easy. However, you need frost crystals for this. If you have gone through the game's storylines, you will have gotten the blueprints for a hydroponic bay and for the frostwort plant, so you can grow it yourself. You can always use the Assistant to NoMansSky app for more information. Link in the description. Another way is to refine silicate powder to create glass. Now, silicate powder is really easy to come by. Just use your terrain manipulator to mine some earth. It's a long refinement process, mind you. But what if you don't want to wait this long? Where can you find frost crystals? Go to your catalog, find the frost crystal, and select Locate Substance. This will add a mission in your log, which will direct you to a nearby location, which can be in a different star system, by the way. For building with timber parts, you will need carbon, and for some parts, glass, pure ferrite, and ferrite dust. Carbon can be found everywhere, in plants, etc. Also, many things will refine into carbon, most notably oxygen. This can be done in a personal refiner, if you have one, while you continue exploring. One of the best places to find oxygen is by mining hazardous flora like this in caves. Going to a cave hides you from bad weather if needed, and these hazardous flora give you oxygen and sodium, very useful at the beginning of a game. Ferrite dust and pure ferrite can be mined from minerals everywhere. Just scan rocks and analyze them. Pure ferrite can also be refined from ferrite dust, of course. For building with stone parts, you will need silicate powder and, as always, glass, pure ferrite, and ferrite dust. Silicate powder can be mined with the terrain manipulator everywhere, even on frosty worlds. Silicate powder is also useful to recharge your terrain manipulator. For building with alloy parts, you will need pure ferrite and ferrite dust, and, as always, glass. For building prefabricated parts, you will usually need pure ferrite and ferrite dust, and sometimes glass. A subcategory of prefab parts are the parts used for underwater building. These usually require crystal sulfide, which can be found near underwater vents like this one. When diving, watch your air and use the scan mode to find the vents. It doesn't find them from too far, unfortunately, so you have to move around. Be careful when collecting these, because the vents will blow when you go close to them, causing heat damage. Many parts for building on freighters require silver, which can be mined in the environment. It can also be refined from dirty bronze and other materials. Use the Assistant to NoMansSky app to find all possibilities. Link in the description. So, how shall we build our base? What are the things we need to know to actually build? This is the topic of part 3 of this series, techniques. Thank you for watching, and I hope you like and subscribe.